Get ready for a Spider-Man that's brand spanking new, and he comes with all the bells and whistles. I'm Sasha Pearl Raver, and this is Screen Junkies News. Back in August, as Suicide Squad was ripping into the box office, sites like Slash Film and Cinema Blend paid a visit to the set of Spider-Man: Homecoming, where they came away with quite a bit of knowledge about the upcoming film. Perhaps the biggest revelations, though, are that our brand new, all-swinging, all-wall-crawling, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is actually a really new and really different Spider-Man than maybe we were expecting. Here with me to go through some of these points are Jacqueline Coley and Victor Torres. Hi, kids.
Hi.
All right, so first off, there is a quote that we got that says, "This is a story that would be told from the ground level. Even Peter Parker has a fear of heights, as anybody would be standing on a multi-story building. We will not see him swing down Fifth Avenue in this movie or jump off of a 40-story building. There's a bit of reluctance, and we see him taking it in small steps, working up to the Spider-Man that we now know." Jackie, what do you think that means?
Well, I think that means that we're obviously maybe not going to get an origin story, but we're definitely going to get more of his high school life. So we're probably going to explore a lot more of what it's like for him to sort of try this mantle more than be this mantle of Spider-Man. So I'm intrigued by it, but it is a little hard for me to say that because we've already seen him do a fight scene.
Yeah.
We've already seen him kick ass.
He already swung like crazy all through an airport.
Yeah. So I feel like what we saw in Civil War did then regress a little bit, and his progression is going to seem strange to me. Now, maybe it's the heights only. Maybe he's still going to be Spider-Man, but ground level Spider-Man. He'll still be kind of web slinging, but maybe not from tall buildings. So if he builds up to it,
sure.
But it has to be one shot of him on a building.
Well, and I feel like there's a shot even in the trailer where he's swinging past a train, sort of doing the Burt Reynolds on the rug pose. So he's obviously swinging and web slinging, but it's just a different kind. Victor, what do you think?
I took it more as like, if you watch Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man, they become like fully fledged Spider-Men in like 5 minutes of the movie. They're training. I think in Amazing Spider-Man, he's like in a half pipe just doing parkour moves. Yeah. And then Tobey Maguire's just jumping across rooftops. And so I kind of like it where I think you kind of do run the possibility of it being like, well, wait a second, we saw him like holding on to like an airplane in the tarmac scene in Civil War. But I think it's kind of neat to kind of imagine them slowing it down a little bit. He has to get to that point. Whether that means like he's going to be, jumping off the Empire State Building, who knows? But I think it's kind of cool to kind of get him to the place where he needs to be the Spider-Man that we know and love. And I think it makes sense for the trailer that gave away like so much of the movie. It makes sense. This is a Peter Parker who's still coming into his own and his identity as Spider-Man. So I'm optimistic.
Well, maybe that's why the trailer gave away so much. Maybe there's a lot more of the movie that's not as actiony, because I mean, it sounds to me like we're not going to get a training montage in 1 minute and then like have him be like the complete like Jedi like transformation. Which is
great. I love that.
So I'm excited about that. When you put it in context with the trailer, I'm like, yeah, I'm putting this all together a little bit more than I thought, and I think it's actually maybe a good thing. I actually don't mind the high school aspect. I'm like, let me see some more Peter Parker having to struggle with being a teenager, because Tobey Maguire was not believable as a teenager. I'm sorry. It's just not. And so I do want to see that, I do like that he's kind of kiddie.
Yeah, and that Tom Holland actually is a teenager, playing a teenager, which is great.
Yeah.
However, he does still have a lot of help. He gets a lot of tech help in this. As you're going through the articles, they're talking about the web shooter that we see in a hologram on the ceiling in Civil War. That's going to be part of it. There's a holographic interface that helps him do all sorts of things. There's different web settings. It can be a spinning web, a web ball, a ricochet web, which sounds super cool.
Yeah.
All kinds of cool stuff. And here's the other thing that I love. Tony Stark puts like parental controls basically on the suit. So there's certain things that he can't do, and then he figures out how to unlock them and gets himself into all kind of trouble. So Victor, what are you most excited in this tech, and what do you want us to see?
It's one of those things, coming back to the trailer, when I was one of like the millions of people who were just like, man, I feel like I've seen the whole movie, but it does really make sense that we see so much of his costume, that like little drone spider that comes off, he's got the glider. There are so many different aspects that we know are going into the costume that we haven't even seen yet, but I think it really draws back to the point of the movie being, it's, if you're nothing without the costume, you don't deserve to wear it, essentially. So it looks like he's going back to to his, more homemade one that he wore originally. I think it's super cool. I mean, Tony Stark in the comics made Peter Parker the Iron Spider during the Civil War crossover event, and that had a bunch of cool crap. They had like its own like repair layer that like repairs any kind of damage that was done. He's got these things called Waldos. They're essentially like spider legs that come out the back. I think it's super, super cool that they've implemented this into the story, but also have made it like part of the story. It's not just like, here's Tony Stark gave you all this cool crap, go play. It is part of that, but it's like he has to earn that. He has to kind of, get that place where he's like, awesome, like I can use this and be the real hero I need to be. Like, I think it's super cool.
Yeah. What about you, Jackie? What do you want? Like, what tricks? What bells and whistles? What do you want to see him do it when he's flipping?
I definitely want to see what he was basically talking about, where the suit is more, I guess you would say, interactive and alive, where there's tech very much weaved into every aspect of the physical suit. So maybe it's able to deal with certain aspects of the environment around him. Maybe he's able to change up his web slingers to do various different things, which I also read as a possibility. But I'm actually kind of like mostly intrigued about the child lock. Like the child lock, just I want
he can't watch porn. he can't even watch Game of Thrones. It's very upsetting for him.
Yeah, because that was a huge dynamic of Tony and Peter Parker in Civil War, was that he was very much like, easy kid, like you can't do everything that you want. You got to crawl before you walk. And I also am very interested to see if they're, if they're going to do that, what he did to break the child lock. Like, was it a thing where he was like, I have to do it? Is this a catalyst moment, or is this a moment that he literally was tinkering with the whole time? Like sort of like when kids get programs that their parents know nothing about, and their parents are so sure, like, oh, I've got you like programmed out of this. In 5 seconds, the kid has already broken through the parental lock. So that'd be kind of interesting.
You also brought up interactive and alive. You want the suit to be interactive and alive, and we know for sure that there is an interface that is similar to Jarvis with Iron Man. So, but the problem is because it's a brand new suit and he's still sort of trying to figure it out, instead of being able to just be like, oh, do this, Peter Parker has to say, could you maybe take me for a thing? And the suit has to figure out what he's actually asking for. And that, I think, is a really cool and interesting dynamic, because I have to say, I feel like Jarvis is one of the best parts of the Iron Man franchise. Yeah. So whatever sort of AI that we have now in Peter Parker's suit, I can't wait to see what this will be. Jackie, what do you think it's going to be?
I hope it's the mother voice. Like, I really want this very like mom voice that will lecture him if he screws things up, because I just feel like that would be aspect of it. Because like we had Jarvis, which is now Vision, and then we also now have Friday, and I do feel like that female voice for Tony like says something, because there's an absence of Pepper in the later iterations of the franchise. So I do think there's going to have to be either a mother scolding, reproachful. There will have to be some sort of parental factor to that AI, and maybe even a little daughtering in that respect.
What if, because we haven't had like the death of Uncle Ben, is there any possibility that it's like he programs it as Uncle Ben's voice? I would hate that.
That would be so dark.
That would be so
dark.
So
I was just going to say, like, way to take it like really Riverdale with your Sasha.
And then they're just going after the maple syrup.
I just knew about. You just had to bring it to Riverdale, right? No, just kidding.
But I wonder, like, what will the voice be? Could it be a mother voice? Will it be like a voice of reason?
What if
is
it was
Tony Stark's? Great minds.
But still reproachful Tony, which we know that's not a suit, say to speak, pardon the pun, a suit he's comfortable with. He's definitely not comfortable being the dad, because like halfway through anything that Peter Parker does that is slightly rebellious, he's going to be like, don't, but it's so good to watch. You know what I mean? Because that's exactly what he would do. Yeah. It's exactly what he would do.
Absolutely. Victor, what do you think?
I think it would make sense if it was Tony. I feel like so much of this is seeming to like draw on the similarities between Spider-Man and Iron Man, or Tony and Peter. And I think it would kind of make sense that like Tony looks at Peter and is like, wow, that reminds me of a young me. I like the idea that Peter can basically get past whatever the parental codes are of his like web slinger, but still can't figure it out. Like, he's still not to Tony's like level of intellect yet, but he's obviously like can get a far way with his wit. So I think it's pretty fun. I'm open for whatever.
Okay, so as we're talking about this, we realize that contracts are up. A lot of these actors are going to be gone soon. They are passing the mantle to Black Panther, to Spider-Man. Like, say bye-bye, Chris Evans, because it's going to go away. And Robert Downey Jr. definitely is going to go away. Would he be willing, though, to show up and do some voiceover? I wonder.
That's like the reverse Vision.
Well, I know, I'm thinking, because everybody's been saying, like, everyone's dying in Infinity War. Like, everyone's going to die. So you kill off Tony Stark, but Tony Stark lives on as the voice in Peter Parker's head?
I think that would be cool, and I could totally see him doing that. Like, I feel like no matter what Robert Downey Jr. says, like, you know, this is my last one, I feel like if the interest and the money's there, like, he'll probably join.
And Disney prints money. Like, I mean, he could maybe potentially, he's already gotten one of the biggest paychecks ever through the films. He's now potentially to do, like, the Harrison Ford, like, you can bring me back once for, like, you know, a big thing. So.
Or just bring me into the recording booth and I'll do some VO, and then you just play that through. Interesting. Well, we want to know, what are you excited for Peter Parker's suit? Is there anything from the comics you hope that they put into the movies? And whose voice do you think is going to be in his head? Let us know in the comments below. You can tweet us at SJ News. Make sure to like and subscribe. And of course, you can always click here for more Screen Junkies news. See you soon.